What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another trade recap today for September the 5th. Today, unfortunately, we took no trades because we did not get filled. I made the same mistake again for doing a limit order instead of buying at the ask when I do that. But with that said, let's get into the pre-market context. So opening into SPY today, as you can see, indices were showing a lot of strength due to the AM news. Market did like that news, and as you can see, it ended up rallying up for a bit. However, upon market opening, it ended up chopping, and as you can see, followed by a really big dump. With that said, let's hop into our Tesla trade. So opening to today's market for Tesla, as you can see, pre-market was holding pretty well, really strong strength, showing nice buying intention. And upon opening, buyers did step in for the first 2 minutes. However, shortly after that, we had a strong rejection out of this 352.77 zone, which I'm not sure what it was, but our key watch today was a hold above this 348.72 level. As you can see, if you scale on the big time frame, it was the highs of a previous high. With that said, we go back into the 1 minute. As you can see, after buyers did step in this level, we consolidated for around three short candles. As you can see here, they're all red candles, but what I noticed was the dying volume over here. As you can see, very low selling volume, indicating that sellers did not have intention of breaking through this level. So a few moments later followed, as you can see, pretty much ran up to this 35540 zone, and the rest is history. This trade here, just this first 5 candles would have netted you 50% because of how quickly it moved, which I would have just been done just like that and within 20 minutes of the day, making back all my losses this week. We are down on this week. I did have a big loss yesterday on Meta, which is very unfortunate. This one trade would have made it back plus more, but I'd made the same mistake and not doing a market order. Instead, I did limit ask around this candle here, and as you see shortly after, it just popped up, and there was no retrace ever since. So don't do the same mistake as me. Again, I'm always making the same mistakes. I'm cheaping out on this 510 to cents con because, to be honest, today is Friday, so contracts are more volatile. So when it comes to stop loss, your stop loss will end up losing more if it does reach your stop loss area, as it is 0 DTE. With that said, let's hop into NVIDIA. As I stated in previous videos, we were looking for a massive move up or down. As you can see, Tesla or NVIDIA here was consolidating, creating ascending wedge. Typically, I see this as a both way type of trade, but since we're on a downtrend trend with a market opening flat today, I wasn't sure which direction it was going to go. However, as you can see here, we did have a downside as NVIDIA was weak. So I was looking for downside, but it was pretty tricky to play. As you can see on the open, it pretty much went down and then consolidated over here around the 167.21, eventually breaking back above. I'm just thinking in the future if I would have taken this trade. I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think I would have gone stopped on this trade. And as you can see, it actually ended up playing out, but after a liquidity grab of this area over here, reaching the 168.81 zone. As you can see here, really strong supply zones over here, which were key to the trade on the video here. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a really simple like push down just like that on market open, come back and then go. But as you can see, instead we had a flush down and then retest to this zone over here before heading down. So it was kind of clear in the bigger time frame, but looking at the 1 minute, I couldn't really see that. So I was not able to catch NVIDIA shorts. Also, since I did miss Tesla today and having a big losing day yesterday, I did not want to chase and make anything irrational. With that said, that pretty much wraps up for NVIDIA. Looking into SPY today, a really massive dump. I'm not sure how I would have caught this dump, but I think it did look cleaner on the QQQs. But before we get into that, let's get into this possible call trade that I saw over here. So since market was dumping for the whole day, there was pretty much no retest, right? We were pretty much bound for a retest eventually for buyers to step in. And as you can see here, I was very interested in this 644.81 zone. Honestly, just practicing at this point, not really gonna trade because it is Friday and after a massive move. and missing the trade, I did not want to make any stupid decisions, you know, even though if it is a good trade, which I wouldn't say that I would scale up in this trade, because after a big move like this, you know, I'd pretty much be done for the day and be cautious of the market. But it is still good to stick around and look at price action. So you can see my thought process here was a dump, and as you can see, we did have initial buyers kick in here, but the reason I did not look for a retest on this was because I expected this to be a manipulation leg and a liquidity grab. As you can see, we liquidity grabbed this area over here, and then we went down to test the 20-day moving average zone. As you can see, from there we had a reclaim, right? We bounced up when buyers kicked in, and then once we broke around this area with the 5-day moving average, that's where the break and retest was, and I saw opportunity for a continuation up. My initial target was these down close candle, but as you can see here, it only ran up 1.87 points, which is fairly enough. Almost a 5 to 1 RR trade here. Really good. But again, since it is Friday and after having a big move like that, you do have to be cautious, as it could just dump on you. With that said, that pretty much is it for SPY. Looking at the QQQs now, there was it's possible for me to cash a short spot. I wasn't looking at the time. As you can see here, QQQ, very nice break and retest area of this 5-minute range or 15-minute. Let's see. Yeah, this 15-minute range here, as you can see. Consolidation zone, and then created some head and shoulder downwards, and then a retest around this zone with this pre-market if you want it to be safe. As you can see, a very big trade here. There was no demand zone until this 575 area, which pretty much had a really big drop. Yeah, 3-point drop. Other than the data lows, which usually would get taken out if retested by then. But as you can see, very massive trade for QQQs if you were able to hold on, and especially those who caught it today, congratulations. Pretty sure this trade ran around like 500 to 700%. But yeah, days like these are crazy. They come every once in a while, so even though if you do miss days like this, it is okay. You know, you will get it eventually. As long as you show up to the market every day, the move will come back. That said, as you can see, market is currently still open and we are just chopping in a range. Just like I said, it is a Friday. You do have to be cautious, and especially after a big move like that, the market could just end up chopping. The market has been chopping fairly, very difficult price action to trade, so pretty much hands off for me, you know. I'd wait for a next setup for another day. Market does open every day, and look for AM setup for me with strong volume. With that said, that pretty much wraps it up for today, and see you guys next week. Peace out.